Be me, Karen, a 35-year-old marketing manager at a large corporation. Live in a fancy suburban neighborhood with my equally entitled husband, Tom, and our two spoiled kids, Emily and James. Spent most of my life believing I'm above everyone else, always getting what I want, when I want it. Constant complaints about how the world owes me, and how I deserve so much more. I woke up to the sound of my alarm blaring in my ear, a gentle, soothing melody that I had specifically chosen to help me start my day off right. As I reached over to turn it off, I knocked over my glass of water from the night before, spilling it all over my expensive silk sheets. Seriously? I said out loud, throwing my pillow across the room in frustration. Can't a person even get a decent night's sleep around here? I got out of bed and began to make my way to the kitchen to start my day with a fresh cup of coffee. As I walked, I couldn't help but think about all the things that were going to go wrong today. The traffic, the meetings, the incompetent coworkers. Ugh, just thinking about it all was giving me a headache. As I poured myself a cup of coffee, my husband Tom walked into the kitchen, yawning. "Morning, honey," he said, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. "What's for breakfast?" "I don't know, Tom," I replied, rolling my eyes. "I'm not your personal chef. Can't you see I'm busy?" Tom looked taken aback by my response, but he knew better than to push the issue. "Okay, sorry. I'll just make myself some toast then." I watched as Tom made himself a simple breakfast, feeling a sense of annoyance wash over me. Why couldn't he just do something more substantial for once? Didn't he know that I was the one who did all the real work around here? Just then, my phone started ringing. I picked it up, expecting it to be one of my coworkers calling to discuss some mundane work detail. But to my surprise, it was my boss, Mrs. Johnson. "Karen, I need to see you in my office as soon as possible," she said, her voice firm and serious. My heart sank. What could she possibly want to see me about? I was the best employee in the company, after all. I was the one who always came up with the brilliant marketing ideas, who always met my deadlines, who always... "Okay, I'll be right there," I said, trying to sound confident and calm. As I hung up the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. What could Mrs. Johnson possibly want to see me about? And why did she sound so serious? I pushed the thoughts aside and headed out the door, ready to face whatever the day had in store for me. But little did I know, my life was about to take a drastic turn. As I walked into Mrs. Johnson's office, I couldn't help but notice the stern look on her face. Her eyes seemed to bore into my soul, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. I took a deep breath and tried to compose myself, reminding myself that I was the best employee in the company. "Ah, Karen, thank you for coming in so quickly," Mrs. Johnson said, her voice firm but polite. "Please, take a seat." I sat down in the chair in front of her desk, trying to appear confident and relaxed. But my mind was racing with thoughts of what this meeting could be about. Did I do something wrong? Was I in trouble? "So, Karen, I'm sure you're aware that the company has been going through some changes lately," Mrs. Johnson began, her eyes narrowing slightly. I nodded, trying to appear attentive. "Yes, of course. The new CEO and all that." Mrs. Johnson leaned forward, her elbows resting on her desk. "Exactly. And with these changes come new expectations. Expectations that I'm afraid you may not be meeting, Karen." I felt a surge of indignation. Not meeting expectations? Me? I was the one who did all the real work around here. I was the one who came up with the brilliant ideas, who put in the long hours, who made sure everything ran smoothly. "I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mrs. Johnson," I said, trying to sound calm. "I've been working just as hard as ever. Maybe even harder, considering all the extra workload I've taken on." Mrs. Johnson raised an eyebrow. "Is that so? Because from what I've seen, Karen, you've been coasting, shall we say." Relying on your natural talent and charisma to get by, rather than putting in the actual effort required to excel in your role. I felt a wave of anger wash over me. How dare she? Didn't she know that I was the one who did all the real work around here? Didn't she know that I was the one who deserved the credit, the recognition, the rewards? I don't think that's fair, Mrs. Johnson, I said, my voice rising. I've worked hard to get where I am, and I've consistently delivered high-quality results. You can't just dismiss all my accomplishments like that. Mrs. Johnson leaned back in her chair, a small smile playing on her lips. I'm not dismissing your accomplishments, Karen. I'm simply saying that, perhaps it's time for a change. A change in your role, your responsibilities, your perspective. I felt a chill run down my spine. What was she talking about? A change in my role? My responsibilities? I was the marketing genius around here. I was the one who made things happen. What kind of change? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mrs. Johnson leaned forward again, her eyes glinting with a hint of challenge. I think it's time for you to take on a new project, Karen. A project that will test your skills, your creativity, and your dedication. Are you up for the challenge? I'm not sure what you're getting at, Mrs. Johnson, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral, but my mind was racing with possibilities. What kind of project could she be talking about? Something that would test my skills, my creativity, and my dedication. It sounded like a tall order, but at the same time, I was intrigued. I had always thrived on challenges, and the thought of taking on something new and exciting was tantalizing. Let me show you, Mrs. Johnson said, standing up and walking over to a large whiteboard on the wall. She picked up a marker and began to scribble down some notes, her handwriting bold and decisive. We've been approached by a major client, one of the biggest players in the industry, and they're looking for a team to handle their marketing campaign. It's a huge opportunity, Karen, but it's also a huge risk. They're looking for someone who can think outside the box, someone who can come up with a campaign that will blow their competitors out of the water. I felt a surge of excitement as I listened to Mrs. Johnson's words. This was the kind of project I had been waiting for, the kind of project that could make or break my career. I could already feel my mind racing with ideas, my creative juices flowing. I see, I said, trying to sound calm and collected, but my inner monologue was going crazy. This was it, this was my chance to shine, to prove myself, to show everyone what I was capable of. I could already imagine the recognition, the rewards, the accolades that would come with landing a campaign like this. So, what do you say, Karen? Mrs. Johnson asked, turning to face me, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Are you up for the challenge? Are you ready to take on this project and show me, show everyone, what you're made of? I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew that this was a moment of truth, a moment that could change the course of my career forever. I thought about all the hard work I had put in, all the late nights and early mornings, all the sacrifices I had made. I thought about the doubt and the criticism I had faced, the times when people had told me I wasn't good enough, that I would never make it. And then I looked at Mrs. Johnson, at the challenge in her eyes, and I knew exactly what I had to do. Yes, I said, my voice firm and decisive. I'm up for the challenge. I'm ready to take on this project and show you, show everyone, what I'm capable of. Mrs. Johnson smiled, a small, satisfied smile. I thought you'd say that, Karen, she said. I'll send over the details of the project, and we can discuss the specifics later. But for now, let's just say that this is your chance to shine, to prove yourself, to show everyone what you're made of. Don't blow it. As I walked out of Mrs. Johnson's office, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Excitement and nerves wrestled for dominance, each one trying to outdo the other. I couldn't help but wonder what the project entailed, what kind of challenges I would face, and whether I was truly ready for it. The words, show everyone what you're made of, kept echoing in my mind, like a mantra that I couldn't shake off. I made my way back to my desk, trying to appear calm and composed, but my mind was racing. What if I failed? What if I wasn't good enough? The doubts crept in, like unwelcome visitors, and I found myself questioning my abilities. I thought about all the times I had faced setbacks and rejections, all the times I had felt like giving up. As I sat down at my desk, I took a deep breath and tried to push the doubts aside. I reminded myself of all the hard work I had put in, all the skills I had acquired, and all the successes I had achieved. I thought about the people who believed in me, who had encouraged me to pursue my dreams. My family, my friends, my colleagues, they all thought I was capable of greatness. Just then, my phone buzzed, and I saw a message from Mrs. Johnson. "Meet me in the conference room at 2 p.m. to discuss the project details," it read. I felt a surge of adrenaline, and my heart started racing again. This was it, I thought. This was my chance to prove myself, to show everyone what I was made of. As I waited for the meeting, I found myself going over all the possible scenarios in my head. What if the project was too complex? What if I didn't have the right skills? What if I failed to deliver? The what-ifs were endless, and I couldn't shake them off. At 2 p.m. sharp, I walked into the conference room, trying to exude confidence. Mrs. Johnson was already there, with a stack of files and a look of expectation on her face. "Karen, thanks for coming," she said, as I sat down. "I think you're going to find this project very interesting. It's a challenge, but I know you're up for it." I leaned forward, my eyes locked on hers. "I'm ready to hear the details," I said, my voice firm. "What's the project about, and what do you expect from me?" Mrs. Johnson smiled, a hint of a challenge in her eyes. "Let's just say it's a game changer," she said. "It's a project that could put our company on the map, and I want you to be the one to lead it. Are you ready to hear the specifics?" I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. I was ready to take on the challenge, to show everyone what I was made of. Bring it on, I thought, as Mrs. Johnson began to outline the project details. Little did I know, my life was about to change in ways I never thought possible. As Mrs. Johnson began to outline the project details, I pulled out my notebook and pen, ready to absorb every word. "The project is called Eclipse," she started, her voice low and serious. "It's a top-secret initiative to develop a new line of sustainable energy solutions. The goal is to create a system that can harness and store energy from renewable sources, making it possible for entire cities to run on clean power." I scribbled down some notes, my mind racing with the implications. This was huge. I could feel the excitement building up inside me, but I pushed it down, trying to maintain a professional demeanor. "That sounds incredible," I said, looking up at Mrs. Johnson. "What's the timeline for the project, and what's the expected outcome?" Mrs. Johnson leaned back in her chair, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "The timeline is aggressive, Karen. We're talking 6 months to a year, depending on the progress. As for the outcome, we're expecting nothing short of revolutionary. We want to change the game, to make our company the leader in sustainable energy solutions." I felt a surge of adrenaline at the challenge. This was it, my chance to prove myself, to make a real difference. "I'm in," I said, my voice firm. "I'm ready to lead this project and make it happen." Mrs. Johnson's smile grew wider, and she nodded, a look of approval on her face. "I knew I could count on you, Karen. You have the skills, the talent, and the drive to make this project a success. But I have to warn you, it won't be easy. There will be obstacles, setbacks, and doubters. You'll need to be tough, resilient, and creative to overcome them." I nodded, my mind already racing with strategies and solutions. I was ready for this. "Bring it on," I thought, my inner monologue echoing with determination. "I understand," I said, my voice steady. "I'm ready for the challenge. What's the next step?" Mrs. Johnson leaned forward, her eyes locked on mine. "The next step is to assemble a team," she said. "You'll need to handpick the best engineers, researchers, and experts in the field. You'll need to work with them to develop a prototype, test it, and refine it. And you'll need to do it all under the radar, without alerting our competitors to what we're working on." I felt a thrill of excitement at the secrecy surrounding the project. This was like a spy novel, I thought, my inner monologue running wild with scenarios and possibilities. "I understand," I said, my voice low and serious. "I'll assemble the team and get to work right away. But can I ask, what's the budget for the project?" Mrs. Johnson smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "The budget is unlimited, Karen. We're willing to invest whatever it takes to make this project a success. But I have to warn you, with unlimited budget comes unlimited expectations. You'll need to deliver results, and you'll need to do it fast." I nodded, my mind racing with the implications. Unlimited budget, unlimited expectations. This was it, my chance to shine, to make a real difference. I was ready to take on the challenge, to put everything on the line. Bring it on, I thought, my heart pounding with excitement. I was ready to change the game. As I left Mrs. Johnson's office, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and importance. I was now a part of something big, something that could potentially change the course of the company's history. I made my way to the elevator, my mind already racing with thoughts of assembling the team and getting started on the project. "Okay, Karen, let's think this through," I said to myself, stepping into the elevator. "First things first, I need to gather the best people for the job. I'll need a team of experts in various fields, people who can think outside the box and come up with innovative solutions." The elevator doors closed, and I was alone with my thoughts. I thought about John, our top engineer, and how his expertise in design and development would be invaluable to the project. I thought about Emily, our resident genius when it came to coding and software development. And I thought about David, our marketing guru, who could help us brand and launch the product. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped out into the bustling hallway. I made my way to the break room, where I knew I could find John and Emily. As I walked in, I saw them huddled in the corner, sipping their coffee and chatting. "Hey, guys," I said, trying to sound casual. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" John and Emily exchanged a curious glance, but they followed me to a quiet corner of the room. "What's up, Karen?" John asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "I just got out of a meeting with Mrs. Johnson," I said, my voice low. "She's given me a new project, and I think it has the potential to be huge. But I need your help to make it happen." Emily's eyes sparkled with interest. "What kind of project?" she asked, leaning in. "I'm not entirely sure," I admitted. "But from what Mrs. Johnson said, it's going to be a game changer. And I need the best team to help me make it happen." John nodded, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Count me in," he said. "I'm always up for a challenge." Emily nodded in agreement. "Me too," she said. "When do we start?" I grinned, feeling a surge of excitement. "We start now," I said. "Let's get to work, team." As we left the break room, I couldn't help but think about the journey ahead. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready for the challenge. I was ready to put in the long hours, to push myself to the limit, and to make this project a success. "Okay, team," I said, as we walked back to our desks. "Let's get to work. We have a lot to do, and not a lot of time to waste." John and Emily nodded, their faces set with determination. We were in this together, and we were going to make it happen. No matter what it took. "I'll start researching and gathering data," Emily said, already typing away on her computer. "I'll start brainstorming ideas and coming up with a prototype," John said, pulling out his notebook and starting to sketch. "And I would oversee it all, making sure everything ran smoothly and according to plan." I was the leader of this team, and I was ready to take on the challenge. As we worked, the hours flew by. The sun began to set outside, casting a golden glow over the office. But we didn't notice. We were too busy, too focused on the task at hand. This is it, I thought to myself, as I worked. This is my chance to shine. I'm not going to let it slip away.